I just achieved Icon agent status at eXp Realty in my 4th year as a realtor, and I've never done a cold call, I've never knocked on a single door, and I've never even done an open house. So how is this possible? How did I do this, and how can you do this as well? Because if I can do it, anybody can. Now, what is Icon Realty? Or Icon agent at eXp Realty. If you're not a realtor, in MBA terms, it's like you made the all-star team. If you are a realtor, you probably will understand this explanation a little better. eXp Realty every year takes 20% of your commissions. It's called an 80-20 split. 20% for every sale that you do, up to $16,000 until you pay them $16,000. So that equates to about 80 grand a year, where you're paying the brokerage 20%. Every brokerage, you're paying a certain split, right? So after you pay the 16,000, you've capped for the year. And this is every calendar year. So my calendar year begins January 1st, ends December 31st. Once you've capped, you then have to pay $5,700 in capping fees to Icon. Every deal buy sell is around 280, so it's about 20 transactions. And the cool thing about this award is, yeah, you get a nice little trophy, but eXp Realty actually pays you back $16,000 in stock and equity once you've achieved Icon. So what does that mean? That basically means you paid 0% split to your brokerage for the entire year, right? Because you're getting that 16K back. So you're keeping 100% of your commission for the entire year. Pretty cool. Downside is it is equity and you can't sell it right away. It's a 3-year vest, which I didn't realize, but it makes sense. I worked at a startup before. If you understand the equity game, most companies will probably enforce a vesting period. So there's a 3-year vest for that equity award, which means you can't sell it until you hold it for 3 years. But you know, it is what it is. Par for the course, that's equity. Bear, come on, let's go. And so yeah, how did I do this, right? And when I first started, I never really gunned for this award. It just kind of happened. Because I'm in my 4th year now. You probably heard this a million times if you watch my videos, but prior to being a realtor, I was a CPA at Deloitte and did that for 3 years. Audited the biggest companies in Canada, Morgan Stanley, Brookfield, RBC, Wealthsimple. Those were some of my clients, really big clients actually. Shocking that they let a 21-year-old audit these companies, but that's the system. So yeah, I did that, didn't like it. Did software engineering for 3 years, didn't like that. Backpacked the world for a year as a photographer, loved that, but I couldn't do that forever. And then I became a realtor when I was 28, I think, 29. And I knew nothing about real estate. I've lived in a house my whole life, but I knew nothing about real estate. Didn't know anyone, didn't know how it worked. I didn't even know realtors could do leases, which I'll get into in a minute. And then, yeah, I was like, people were telling me about cold calling and door knocking. And I just thought these prospecting methods were kind of whack, really strange. It's like, you can do it, but it's not for me. It's not my style. I don't want to knock on someone's door. Like, that's just so annoying. If someone knocked on my door, I'd tell them to go away, you know? So how did I do it then without these methods? Now, if you're a realtor watching this, I encourage each and every one of you, if you haven't already, to read Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And if you read it, read it again. And in this book, Mr. Keller talks about 3 L's: listings, leverage, and leads. Actually, I think the order is leads, listings, leverage, but whatever, 3 L's in a triangle. I propose a 4th L, leases, because that was my secret sauce into getting Icon and achieving the success that I've done now. When I first joined eXp Realtor, when I was very new to the game, I was listening to other Icon agents, and you know how it is, you listen to 100 different things, you don't really remember much. But one thing that stood out, I don't even remember his name, he was like a pastor in like Montana or something. He was an Icon agent. This guy said, I forget his name, sorry, but this guy said, there's a million different prospecting techniques, right? You could literally do anything in prospect, right? there's literally a million ideas in this generation, in this time with technology, right? You can post TikToks, you can door knock, you can cold call. But he's like, yo, just pick 3 prospecting techniques that give you energy instead of taking energy, and focus on those, right? So for me, I'm not gonna cold call you. Hi, you want to buy a house? Like, no, it's gonna drain me. Like, I did not become a realtor to fucking cold call people or knock on someone's doors. Like, no thanks. For some people, that would be fantastic. Some people love doing door-to-door sales, right? So for me, that was very draining, and I didn't do it. What did I like to do? Well, I liked YouTube. So YouTube was one thing. I liked making videos. If you watch my first year, I made a video like this every month, right? So I like doing that. I like photography. That's another method. And the third method, leases. Now, once you cap at eXp Realty, when you buy and sell and transaction a house, it's $280. But when you do a lease, it's 20%. So each lease after you've capped is like $200 in capping fees. So it's like 25 deals, assuming like $2,500 a lease, which is the average lease price here in Toronto. So it's like 25 leases after you've capped, and you can icon. So that was my secret sauce. Now, in my first year, I did, I think, 43 leases, and I'm in my 4th year now. This is year 3.5, and I took a look at the numbers. I've done 125 leases, which is absurd to think about. It's a grind. I'm not telling you it's glamorous. It's a fucking grind. And if you divide that by 3.5, it's about 35 a year, 35 leases a year. When I first started, that was almost like my primary job. All I did was leases, right? And it was a grind. Now it's more of like a patent office job. Like Einstein, for example, he's the greatest inventor next to Tesla maybe, but one of the greatest inventors of all time, he had a patent office job to pay the bills. Now it created perfect synergy with his real job, which was inventing stuff, because it paid the bills, and he was in that energy, and it was very low stress. So now that I'm in my 3rd year, 4th year, I'm still doing leases, but it's like very low stress. Whereas first year I took it very seriously, like my primary job. Now, the cool thing about leases, and I encourage every new realtor to do this, it's really crazy. It's why I've achieved the success that I've achieved. I've sold 12 homes this year at around $12 million in 2026, and it's July right now, mid-July. And I took a look at how did I get each buy and each sell, and 50% of them came from leases one way or another. Whether it was a tenant I helped a few years ago and now they're ready to buy, right? For example, like if you help a AAA tenant, 700 credit score, 100K income, the bank's pretty much going to give them money to buy a 500K house. They just need 5% down, right? So it's like most AAA tenants have the ability to buy. So yeah, a lot of buyers manifested from these leases that I did years ago, referrals. And here's a crazy one. I just sold a penthouse on King Street West, and guess how I got that listing, right? This buyer bought it a few years ago after I first helped him rent a place a few years prior. It was actually, I think, my 2nd lease that I ever closed. So it turned into a buy and a sale, right? I'm not saying every lease is going to turn into this, because, I've done 125. Some I've never heard from. I follow up, I never hear from them again, which is fine. It's just a numbers game. You got to think long term. Now, it's not going to be easy. For sure, it's not going to be easy. And if you're, in the suburbs or something, it might be a little difficult. Now, if you're in Toronto, take advantage. Why wouldn't you do leases, right? And it's like, I don't have an ego. I'll do leases. And you got to treat every client the same way. Whether I'm doing a $1,500 basement lease or I'm selling a $4 million house, which I've done both, by the way, it's like treat every client the same. You really never know what's going to happen, right? Bear, come. My dog is running away. Mosquitoes are killer here. So yeah, that's essentially, long story short, how I got Icon Agent here. I never really went for the award, but it kind of just happened. I saw that I was like, hey, I'm going to cap by March. So 3 months into the year, let me just grind out some leases, which I've been doing as a strategy for a while. And now here I am. So if I can do it, then really anybody can do it. Right? It's all about like work ethic. And the beautiful thing about these leases is, okay, when you're first starting, you have imposter syndrome, but really now that I've done so many buyer transactions, dude, I'm in the jungle. There's so many mosquitoes, whatever. Like, yeah, where am I? Like, I've done so many buyer transactions, and a sale on the buy side is almost identical to a tenant. It's actually easier because like do you have the money, yes or no? They're not looking at your profile or your credit and income or whatever, right? So as a new agent, it's the perfect like starting point, because it's basically the same energy, right? When you're doing tenant stuff versus buying and selling, you're getting lockboxes, you're showing places, you're setting up listings, you're generating leads, right? That's another thing. How did I generate leads? A lot of you are probably wondering that. Now, today, in my 4th year, I have such a big database that I wake up and either repeat customers are like, hey, I need to move, or they're like, hey, Yichi, I have a buddy, he's looking to rent. Can you help me out, right? So I'm not spending the energy to generate new leads, whereas in my 1st year, I was spending way more energy generating new leads because nobody really knew who I was and the fact that I was even doing real estate, except for maybe my SOI. So a little different on the lead gen there. One sec. Crazy. Maybe I shouldn't have walked here after a storm. The mosquitoes are bad and it's muddy, but whatever, we persist. Maybe that's like an analogy for real estate. Like, you just got to keep moving, right? One lease after another, one deal after another, brick by brick, right? It's all about the long term. Can't expect to succeed in one day. I mean, this is my 4th year now. We've done 4 rotations around the sun, right? And now I'm starting to see some dividends after grinding like a dog. Like, I made less money than what I would have made at Deloitte in my 1st year as a realtor, right? In my 1st year. That's not a very financially wise decision, but I saw the long game, and that's what leases are. They're the long game. Not only are you doing the same thing that a buyer agent would be doing, you're making money, right? You're building momentum that way. You're actually like, hey, look, man, if you can do 4 leases a month, that's around $4,000 gross. It's enough to survive at least, right? That's not bad. I'm not saying you're gonna be a millionaire, but like, that's not bad. You can at least survive, right? So you're not only making money, you're building a database. And like I said, I gave you all those examples of how one lease deal turned into sales, right? Which is pretty crazy. And I posted after every like tenant transaction I did, and all of a sudden landlords came out of nowhere being like, hey, you work with a lot of tenants, you want to help me rent out my place, which is way easier than running around showing a tenant. So it just opens up so many different portals, these leases. They really are the 4th L that's missing in Gary Keller's book. Maybe the 5th L is League of Legends, because you need to have some fun too. But that's more of a spiritual side of real estate or sales or self entrepreneurship, right? There's a spiritual and energetic aspect, which I'll save for another video. But in this video, I'm just going to talk about, how the hell do those leases work, right? And lead generation, I'm giving away all my sauce. I really don't care. There's too much opportunity out there. I'm just going to tell you guys how I did it, because I wish I had someone tell me when I first started how to do all this. And I did. I had great mentors, but obviously, like, I know way more now than when I first started, right? I have so many leads now where I'm having to say no to clients. So if you're thinking about being a realtor, or if you are a realtor and you want to help, feel free to reach out to me below. Happy to have a conversation. There's just too many leads, right? 7 million people in the GTA. So diverse and multicultural. Everyone speaks a different language. So happy to have a conversation, because I'm having to say no to really good clients. There's just too much going on. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a new realtor and you're trying to generate these lease leads, just reach out to some listing agents that are renting out their place, right? They're renting it out on 123 Main Street, and just be like, hey, can I advertise your lease listing on your behalf? Most listing agents are lazy. They've been in the game for a long time. The last thing they want to do is handle cold leads on realtor.ca for their lease listings. I know I don't, because most of them are like, you can't even work with them. So you just say, hey, can I advertise on your behalf? these any listing agent would probably say yes because it's free advertising. Why would they say no, right? And then boom, you advertise their lease listing, you find tenants, you qualify tenants, post it on different avenues, your social media, marketplace, Kijiji, wherever, literally post it wherever, right? Obviously with the listing agent's permission, right? And there you go, you have a lead source, right? And then the leads will come flying in. Wonderful. There's so many people. This country has turned into a renter's economy, right? So many new people in the country looking to rent. And even a lot of people who have money, they don't want to buy a house. They want to rent because they don't know, right? So many leads will come flying in. And then it's a matter of, okay, how do I qualify them, right? Just like for a buyer, I have to qualify a buyer. They have to be pre-approved before I start showing them home. Same with the lease. What's their credit score, right? I typically, it's hard to help tenants who have a credit score of less than, let's say, 700 and income less of 100K. So it's like you can't help everybody, right? Not everybody that goes into a Lamborghini dealership can actually afford the car. So it's a waste of your time. So you have to be able to qualify leads to save you time, right? But once you've done that, you've generated leads, you've qualified them, then the rest is just going through the motions, right? Showing them houses, putting together the paperwork, which is super easy to do. And then boom, you have a done lease deal. Now, like I said, you're going to get paid like $1,000. Is that going to be retirement money? No, but play the long game. Real estate is all about the long game. That's why you did it in the first place. It's not linear growth, it's exponential growth. And genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I think leases are the best way for agents to start out, because it is genuinely non-linear growth, gets you in that energy. It's like Einstein's patent off his job, if you will. And it's easy to make a small sale. Then these customers, clients, they come back to you because if you do a good job, like I said, treat the basement tenant the same as the $4 million client, right? Like everybody's the same. They see you do a good job, they're going to come back to you for life, right? Okay. So that's it for this video. Hope that was helpful. Bit of a rant. I wrote a script. I didn't even follow it. I just kind of just started yapping, but hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I wish I could zap this information to first year me when I first started, but we got here in the end. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.